How's everybody doing? We're back again with another video. And in this video, we'll be answering the question, is the AR-15 a weapon of war? Now, you hear a lot of talking points about, AR-15s being weapons of war. They're not being weapons of war, them being sporting rifles, all this shit. And, you know, in my opinion, both sides of you got your anti-gun and then you got your pro-gunners are both wrong and correct at some point. All right, and I'll explain it this way. To answer the question, are AR-15s weapons of war? Well, it depends on your definition of weapon of war, realistically, right? So let's look at it, the base definition of something like that. All right, so a gun or a model of a gun that's commonly used in war, right? Used by militaries wherever around the world, right? Well, by that definition, the AR-15 is not a weapon of war. So, and that's the definition that I think not anti-gunners, pro-gunners tend to latch onto too quick, in my opinion. But yeah, this model specifically is not used in war around the world, right? Now, if your definition is a gun that you can effectively use in war or combat, then yes, this is a weapon of war, okay? So another way that I would look at this as a weapon of war was the system of this firearm designed for war? Was it the system itself, when they initially designed the AR-15 system, was the design for warfare? Well, yes. Eugene Stoner designed the AR-15, which the original AR-15 is full auto. It's a machine gun, right? But the original design was designed for war. So yes, by that standard, it is. So another thing that I think about, like, this is how I think of it, right? Excuse me. I think the majority of firearms are weapons of war by a lot of different definitions. I think in general, firearms were designed for combat, right? War, combat, defense against mainly human beings, but also like animals and stuff. So in my opinion, I think majority of firearms, now there are firearms that suck at stopping the threat, right? So your mouse guns, your 22s, anything like that, I wouldn't put in the war category. That's more hunting and, maybe a get off me gun. But majority of other guns, like 9mm up, as far as pistol caliber goes, or like your intermediate calibers and up and stuff like that, are war calibers, right? War cartridges that you could be effective on a battlefield or in combat. So now some people like to think that since these are semi-auto only, that they won't be effective in combat. Now I'll give you some news here, right? Most militaries around the world, when they have full auto capabilities on like a M4 or M16, they most often shoot in semi-automatic mode, right? Now, I'm not a military. I was never in the military or anything like that, so I don't have personal experience. But I've several war veterans, or people who are currently in, not war veterans, but military veterans and stuff. They say that they don't train with full auto all the time. Like, they don't always shoot full auto because, and the thing about it is this: you don't even have to have experience. It's common sense, right? You got a combat loadout of, let's go with 6 to 8 magazines, right, of your rifle. You got to remember that full auto depletes your ammunition very fast. So from what I've seen, a full 30-round magazine like this one, if you held the trigger down on full auto, it would deplete it in like 2 seconds. So from a logical standpoint, you don't want to, semi-auto is going to be more accurate, okay? And it's going to let you conserve your ammunition more than you would do full auto. So there's two benefits of going semi-auto. So this is good for that. Now I can say this. Now full auto isn't like useless or anything like that. Okay. There's two things that full auto can do really good at. All right. One, close combat, right? If you're in a house clearing houses, you might want to switch to full auto. You know, it might benefit you. But then the second one is definitely beneficial, and that's suppressive fire, meaning shooting in the direction of an enemy. And essentially, when people are getting shot at, they're not going to just stand there; they're going to back off. So if you got a squad or whatever, and you want to get to a certain point, but you got somebody pinning you down because they're shooting at you, well, if you suppress fire, that's going to make them stop, and then you go. And now, obviously, your machine guns, like your light machine gun, your belt-fed machine guns, are going to be best for that. But you could, if this was full auto, you could achieve that with this. It's just not going to be as effective, I should say, you know, because with the machine guns, you got more ammunition and all that. So anyway, going on topic here. But yeah, so it just depends on your definition of what a weapon of war is for you to consider this a weapon of war. In my opinion, it's a semi-automatic rifle. And it can be used for war. I mean, if somebody invaded us, right, like China, Russia, whoever invaded us, and our military was either occupied or they couldn't handle anything or whatever, right, we would, and all of us who have these would pick these up and use these very effectively. Okay, so you know, yes, the anti-gunners are technically correct when they say these are weapons of war, but they, excuse me, they're saying that because they believe this is used by our military, which is incorrect. So, and also the gun owners are correct when they say it's not a weapon of war, in the sense that this is not used by our military. And I understand it looks like an M4 and M16. It's essentially an M4 M16 because all the guts are identical except the full auto capability, which there is a piece in there that allows that. So that's the only difference, which is not a huge difference. Okay. So I understand this looks like, you know, the guns that our military uses or have used in the past, but these are not used by our military. Okay. But yeah, while they be correct in that statement, I think they downplay the AR like it's like some weak thing that can't be effective. You know, they're sitting here saying it's a modern sporting rifle. And if you watch this, the podcast, you know, that's a thing I hate when people call these things modern sporting rifles. And I'll probably do another video talking about that. But these are very capable fighting rifles, okay? And I don't care if that makes a fucking anti-gunner upset or uncomfortable because, oh, you want something that you can fight. Yes, no shit. That's why I fucking have it. So, yeah, that's what I think about that. And it's like, you know, I think both sides get it wrong and get it right. You know what I mean? So in my personal opinion, yes, these are weapons of war by just a definition of it was designed for that way. And these weren't designed for sporting purposes. You know what I mean? They were not designed for that. They have features. They have features on here that are not useful for sporting, you know. So you got a bayonet lug, right? Now granted, now most people ain't gonna be using bayonets, but it's able to put a bayonet on here, which is not for sporting at all. It has you know, sling loops and shit, so you can carry it for longer distances, which typically is not for sporting. Most sport guns, you're not going to have a sling on it because it'll just get in your way. But also, you know, there's features on here that'll help you be more effective in combat. Okay, so these firearms, and I'm not just talking about mine, I'm talking about all AR-15s. They're not designed for sporting. Now you can use them for sporting, okay? You can use them for sporting, but I would throw out a number like maybe 80 to 90% of people who buy these use them for defense. They buy them for defense, home defense or whatever, right? Um, you got your very small percentage that do it for sporting, right? So, so that's pretty much it. Like, we can go over it one more time. Depends on your definition, and that's the basis of it. So when you're talking to somebody about, is the AR-15 a weapon of war, you first got to establish definitions. In most cases, on any talking points, that's obviously important. But in this specifically, because you don't want to get wrapped up in your definitions different than the person you're talking to, and they're saying it is a weapon of war, but then they're saying it's not, and then you're just confused. So get the definitions set, and then you can talk about it, right? So yes, in my personal opinion, the AR-15 is most definitely a weapon of war, and I believe we should be able to own weapons of war. And I think all firearms are weapons of war at some point. I mean, at some point, but they are. And I believe we should be able to own fully automatic firearms. That's my personal opinion. I don't think that they should be regulated. I think we should be able to own all that. As the Second Amendment says, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So that's arms, right? So, yeah. So I guess that's pretty much it. Um, if if this gun and me saying it's a weapon of war offends you, well, you're at the wrong channel. Okay, so I'm just sitting here to answer the question, because a lot of people, I've seen different videos about them, and they're sitting here saying one way and then the other way, and I think both sides are incorrect. They're incorrect, in some areas. So I just wanted to give out my opinion on the AR-15, and you know, the answer to the question is yes, in my opinion, they're weapons of war. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support. Like the video only if you like the video, and only if you like it. Subscribe if you enjoy my content, and share the video if you want to share my content. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.